Hello, hear me?
Good evening. We are here at the Delphi Forum 2021, and we will have the pleasure to have a discussion about the role of states in world states and world crisis with the Lieutenant Governor of the great state of California from the United States of America, Mrs. Kounalakis. And we will go immediately to our discussion.
Hello, good morning, Dimitris. It's wonderful to be here with you and with such an incredible group of speakers at this year's
Nice to see you again. We met each other many, many years ago in Washington, D.C. I knew your lovely father, a great man. Nice to see you again. So in order to save time, let's go immediately to our discussion. We have the pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic, a global crisis, but a crisis that is also local. It proved to us that most things have to happen locally in order to deal with this crisis. I want your opinion about how states respond to the COVID-19 crisis and how was their interaction with the federal government in the US. California is a huge state, a state that plays also a role in the world stage. So can you discuss a little bit about this?
Well, Dimitri, we try not to dwell too much on the past, but it's just a fact that it was really a disaster for the states working with the Trump administration. Trump basically called governors and said, you're on your own, figure it out. So we were, in the United States, the first state to issue a statewide stay-at-home order. We went to work getting all the supplies we needed. At one point, California had a larger stockpile of equipment, masks, gloves, PPE, ventilators, a larger stockpile than the United States government did. But fortunately, we now have a different administration in Washington, and they take their leadership role very, very differently. So they issued a mask mandate that goes across the country. They started working in a much more transparent, collaborative way on getting vaccines ready for us. And it's just been a world of difference. Things are working the way they're supposed to, with the federal government taking the lead in a global pandemic. Now California has the lowest positivity rate and infection rate in the country. And we are looking forward to reopening, getting back to normal, and frankly, also able to work with the federal government to do our part to help the rest of the world. We just sent supplies from California to India, from an Air Force base here up the street from where I am in San Francisco at Travis Air Force Base. So things are working much better. We're driving those infection rates down. We have vaccinated now over half of eligible Californians have at least one dose, and we're getting back on track in combating this. But there's no question that our system in the United States is set up so that things like a global pandemic are led by the federal government, and we've had a transition to get there.
So, as a government official of a big state, you had, as all government officials, this difficult experience, this tragic experience with the pandemic and the COVID-19. Now we know that it's a real possibility in the future to have another pandemic or another global crisis like climate change, for example, which is the discussion of the day right now. So how you think that states will deal with that? What will be their role? And is it possible, for example, for the states to interact direct? And when I say states, a state like California, which is almost a country by itself, can a state like California interact with other countries from around the world to deal with pandemics, with climate change? What role you predict for the states in the future?
Well, what I can say about the role of California, because it's different, I think, than other states in the United States, in that we are the fifth largest economy in the world if we were a country. We are not a country, and it is always our preference to be working hand in glove with the federal government. But again, in the last administration, Donald Trump tried to take the United States out of the Paris Accord. California stood up with some other states in the US and said, we're staying in Paris. We have the ability to set our own emissions standards. That authority at the state level is really what's given us the platform to engage globally on climate. So we stayed in Paris, and the thinking was that we would hold the flag until we had a science-based administration again that we could work together with. And we are. And the approach of the Biden administration, sending John Kerry into the world to lead on this standalone issue, is so important. But what we also learned is that for those who were concerned that, well, what happens after Joe Biden, or if there's a different president who goes the other direction again, the fact is California's leadership is here to stay. The Trump administration tried to take away our authority for determining our emission standards, and they failed. So we will continue to lead on this. California, along with Baden-Württemberg in Germany, started a coalition called the Under 2 Coalition, which has organized hundreds of subnational governments to commit to advancing the protocols in order to keep the climate from warming under 2 degrees. And we will continue to lead in this space. And of course, we're this great big economy, the largest consumer market in the United States. We are the birthplace of Tesla. Tesla could not have happened had it not been for the tax rebates, billions of dollars in subsidies and rebates and tax credits that they could get in California. We are the beacon for innovation from around the world. Companies, innovators come here in order to be able to advance that technology, clean tech, and the renewable energy resources that we're going to need. And California is going to continue very much, not just to stay in the game, but to lead when it comes to combating climate change.
I don't want to miss the opportunity because during your career, you were a diplomat, you are an experienced diplomat. We have a new administration in the United States, the Biden administration. And on foreign policy, it seems that President Biden and his team, Secretary Blinken, they are shaking things up in our neighborhood here in Eastern Mediterranean, in the Aegean with Turkey. Based on your experience and because of your Greek heritage, you are very interested in these issues. How you see things shaping up under the Biden administration, and what's your prediction? And do you believe that, for example, a state like California can help facilitate better relations between Greece and the United States and help Greece in any way?
Well, we have 3 international priorities, top international priorities. I talked a little bit about climate, but also trade is very important to us. 40% of all the containerized cargo that comes into the United States comes into California. We have the largest port in the Western Hemisphere. And of course, we are home to some of the largest Fortune 500 companies and the center of innovation in the world. So we care a lot about trade. We also care a lot about the immigration issue. And, I think I'd like to associate my comments, or at least talk about California's interest in good relations between the U.S. and Greece in the context of my friend Dr. Bill Antholis, who you just had, where he talks about the multinational relationships that the United States is working to rebuild. Now, of course, China is very central to the need to rebuild those international relationships. NATO, our partners in the world. But the role I think California plays more than anything is that we, as a result of having benefited from immigration policies of the past, are extremely diverse in this state. The national average is about 14% foreign born in the U.S. In California, we are 27% foreign born. So we have person-to-person, people-to-people relationships that will help us rebuild those international relationships. I talked a little bit about India, and the Vice President of the United States is Indian American, African American woman who is a daughter of California. But there are millions of Californians who come from other parts of the world and can help us keep those relationships strong. I might note that the Armenian community in California was really instrumental in working with the Biden administration on the recognition, finally after decades, President Joe Biden, the Biden-Harris administration recognized that the Armenian Holocaust genocide, in fact, was a genocide. So I think that as we look to the future, it will be these communities in California that are organized and that ultimately want what all Americans and all of us in the world should want, which is stability and security for all. And that, I think, more than anything else, is the unique role that California can play.
Final question, we have 3 more minutes. Do you, specifically on Turkey, President Biden is pressuring Turkey a lot. He recognized, as you said, the Armenian genocide. He is pressuring Turkey on its relationship with Russia, on the good neighborly relations with Greece, on Cyprus, on all fronts. Do you think that this will be a sustainable attitude from Washington under President Biden towards Turkey during the next 4 years of the administration?
Well, again, it's hard to say. My day job is here at the subnational level, but yes, I do watch and I do have great interest and care deeply about Greece and about the bilateral relationship between the United States and Greece, which ultimately is based not just on our shared history and shared values and our person-to-person relationship, but also on this strategic alliance that was absolutely stalwart during the 20th century. I often say and have said for many years that Greece and the U.S. were on the same side in the First World War, the same side in the Second World War, worked together as Greece pushed back against the communist threat after the Second World War, and ended up on the right side of the Iron Curtain. So these relationships matter. Greece is geopolitically very strategically important in the stability and security in the Mediterranean and the region. And there's no question that Turkey is not, as Bill Antholis just said, as reliable a NATO partner. But my hope is that what the administration will do is, yes, part of it is pressure, but part of it is a reminder that we are all better off when we are able to work together, whether it's through our trade relationships or through fighting climate change. We are all better off when we find ways to stabilize the kind of tensions that we've seen escalating in the Mediterranean and focus on what we can do together for all of our people. And so that is a vision ultimately that I hope, but I also believe that Joe Biden is someone who's so experienced on foreign policy and so knowledgeable about the history of the Mediterranean that he will be able to lead us through to a more stable situation.
Governor, thank you very much for your appearance. Nice to see you again, and we hope to see you very soon in Greece.
I hope to be back very soon. Thank you so much for having me.